With that, we bring in Harris Faulkner, anchor of the Faulkner Focus and co-host of Outnumbered. Harris, great to have you with us this afternoon. You covered this hearing live earlier today, and it is an absolutely heartbreaking situation, which is part of a much larger picture, which you're covering very closely as well.
Yeah, I mean, look no further than this case, and you know what's at stake for both of those presidential candidates Thursday night. It is Trump's border policies versus Biden's border politics. And if you want to know just how deep the politics go to the fact that even his Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas couldn't speak of one victim per name. Now, we've had enough of these situations that we're at a tipping point, I would imagine. Like, Biden's going to have to do more than just blame the Republicans. I don't know what Thursday night will look like, but on this Monday, that court, oh my goodness, they saw that mom who was so brave before the microphones today, sitting just feet away from one of the monsters who took her little girl. I mean, that's an American mother up against someone who never should have been allowed in this country. They were illegal border crossers, both of them. Now, the law will look and see if they committed rape and murder and all those things to make this capital, which would lead to the possibility, eligibility for death penalty. But make no mistake about it, they were already criminals before they touched that child. And somebody between the two of them, I'm sure there are attorneys, somebody's telling them, work against each other now. You got to testify against each other. I want to know who made the decision to put her body naked from the waist down in water and destroy evidence, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he had an ice bracelet on isn't going to give anyone any more confidence, because obviously that wasn't working. He called one of them called their boss and said, I need some money to get out of town. Someone got hurt and someone died, but thankfully he was caught before that happened. But, you know, the narrative that you speak to, Harris, with this immigration issue that we're going to hear about in the debate for sure on Thursday night, it's not working in terms of the way that Democrats have been trying to present it. Here's Elizabeth Warren with Martha Raddatz yesterday. Watch.
6.9 million apprehensions at the southern border. Thus far, in Biden's term, there were just over 2 million in Donald Trump's entire term.
President Biden asked Congress both for the resources and for comprehensive immigration reform. The Republicans blocked it. Donald
Trump didn't have that either, Senator. He didn't have that either, and there were 2 million.
Yeah,
that's becoming a bit of a brick wall itself.
Well, I mean, you've got a reporter, Martha Raddatz did a great job with that interview, with facts on her side, and Elizabeth Warren, the senator, who's got fiction on hers. And maybe she didn't dig deep enough to know when Martha Raddatz said, well, what is President Biden doing wrong? And Elizabeth Warren says, this isn't about what the president did wrong. I mean, she clearly doesn't know the facts here. She doesn't understand that when you have parole in place, that's like telling whomever is coming across, and we know there's some terrorists and some killers and whatever coming across with the people who do want to be in this country for the right reasons, but the door is so wide open that everybody gets in. Most of them we can't even vet. So is she not wise about the fact that while you're not vetting these people, they get to go on and be who they were in their countries as criminals, potentially?
Absolutely.
You can't defend that.
It's so interesting because I look back at the immigration discussion that was had in 2020, and it was all about separating of families. And that was an argument that was made against Trump, that he had separated families. Yep. So the first thing that Biden did when he got in, you know, reverse remain in Mexico, reverse catch and release, stop building the wall. And now we're on the opposite side of that whole thing on Thursday night, Harris. We're at a totally different place with this conversation.
And the president is not truthful when he says there's nothing he can do. All right, let's just pretend two things that are opposite can be true. Let's really listen to Biden and say there's nothing you can do, we believe you. Then why reflexively, for political reasons, on the eve of the State of the Union, did he say, I might do an executive order or action?
Exactly.
And then go ahead and do one a couple of weeks ago. Now, albeit he's trying to please everybody and rise in politics to retake that seat. So his answer is duplicitous. He talks out of both sides of his mouth and makes the situation worse. When you look at the border, the numbers prove more people are coming across. I mean, they're coming across at different points, though, because Texas is closing its border down as much as it can.
And he fought them on that.
Let's hope they get to these issues on Thursday night.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so, because, you know, there were things that I pointed out that President Biden did on day one. to undo what was in there.
On purpose.
Exactly. So it's obviously clear that he has a lot of leverage to pull in this issue. But it's going to be fascinating to watch this. And we'll all be watching.
And then I'll be watching you and Brett after.
All of us together.
Yeah,
Thank you. Great to be with you. Thank you so much for sticking around this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Such a treat to have you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.